Today's April 3rd, and today's quote is entitled 8 Hours of Work. One must find some time for hearing Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. This is Vedic culture. One should work 8 hours at the most to earn his livelihood. And either in the afternoon or in the evening, a householder should associate with devotees to hear about the incarnations of Krishna and his activities, and thus be gradually liberated from the clutches of Maya. Srimad Bhagavatam 7:14, text 3 and 4, Purport. So in this purport of the Bhagavatam, Prabhupada was describing, he goes on to describe the activities of non-devotees, how they work very hard and then after office they drink and they dine and etc. And so he's saying that time should be saved for hearing and chanting about Krishna. So I thought this was interesting because I think a lot of devotees have never read this purport or haven't noticed it or didn't pay attention to it. Prabhupada said his father would do puja, then he would go to work around noon. He ran a cloth shop, and then he would come home around 6. And Prabhupada said he was a cloth merchant, but actually his real business was puja. He spent more time doing puja than he did in his business. So his business was there simply to maintain the family, not to become wealthy, not to buy hundreds of properties and make huge investments. His business was there to provide what he needed so he could do his real business of bhajan, of puja. So modern culture, we don't think that way. We think our job is there for us to accumulate as much wealth as possible, to move up the corporate ladder, etc. But that's not what Prabhupada is saying. Prabhupada is saying, work 8 hours maximum. It's not that our life is meant to work harder and harder and harder to accumulate more. It's not for that purpose. Work, and whatever you get in those 8 hours, you accept it as your karma and you live off that. So that you can utilize your time for hearing and chanting about Krishna, which is the purpose of life. If we spend so much time accumulating wealth and that time takes us away from chanting and hearing, what's the point? So we die with more toys and we die with less Krishna consciousness. And the Krishna consciousness is the only thing we're taking. But we see in our culture, because it's so saturated with materialism and people think success is the accumulation of wealth and position, that even devotees are infected by this idea. They will sometimes go into professions that they have no inclination for or really any desire to do, but because it makes good money. Okay, we understand there's some practicality in that. But if you live your life doing something you really dislike, it's very unhealthy, psychologically and physically. So why do we want to make these sacrifices just for money? So we should give some thought to this. Now I know in some countries people are fortunate, they only work 8 hours. In other countries, 10, 11 hours is a normal day. So we should be a little concerned. This is not what Bhagavatam is teaching us. It's teaching us to simplify our lives as far as possible, not to complicate them, to get bigger thises and bigger that's and accumulate this and that and compete with our neighbors. It's not what it's about. It's about being Krishna conscious. As they say, the man who dies with the most toys wins. That's a joke. That the goal we think is to collect toys. It's not. It's to collect Krishna points, bhakti points, and become Krishna conscious.